Shut up and sit down.
Hey friends, I'm Simon.
I'm Ellie.
And if you enjoy our videos, please remember to like, comment, subscribe, and of course hit the bell thing. That would be very kind of you indeed. And tonight we're surprising each other with trailers that we've not yet seen and filming our reactions to those.
So what do we have coming up next?
Well, coming up next, we've got something that just dropped a couple of days earlier, and it's kind of strange. It's basically 7 different studios making one-off anime versions of Star Wars stories. And we are huge Star Wars fans, so can't wait to check this one out. So we're going to go ahead right now, check out the trailer for Star Wars Visions. If you want to see what we think about it, then hang around until the end. But for now,
let's go.
Let's go.
Star Wars Visions is going to be an exciting anime anthology series coming to Disney Plus in September.
Ooh.
Japanese animation inspired a lot of the people at Lucasfilm over the years. We loved the idea of seeing Star Wars expressed in that way.
Each one of these studios that we approached, we found hardcore Star Wars fans. They all had a story they wanted to tell.
That's cool.
初めてスター・ウォーズの企画って言ったらもうあれなんかこのような夢のようなことができるのかなというふうにはちょっと思いましたね。
いやもうついに来たなともう待ってましたその時に提案の内容がこれスター・ウォーズでこれやっていいのかっていうなんか面白いものだったんで
We were looking for something from the heart and soul of the individual creators. They are their visions through the lens of Star Wars.
There are so many genres at play. Big and bold, romantic and sweeping, funny, comedic.
で、この作品独自の、スタイルとしては、ロックオペラということで
日本の山岳文化みたいなことをしっかり描けたらな。
万国教の双子が生まれてこれがどうなるのかというのが基本的な設定ですね。
ライトセーバーって子供の夢が詰まったガジェットだと思うんですよね。でそれをさらに今回僕はここもちょっと和のテイストみたいなものを
We tried to have some retro vintage feeling. We couldn't skip the Astro Boy influence. People love Astro Boy.
どちらかといえば自分は最初象徴的な意味を、さっき言ったように、人間の姿をしてない主人公にしたかった。
スター・ウォーズみたいな時代劇を作りたいマスターとパダワンが未知の敵みたいなのに遭遇するっていうお話ですね。本当に最後はスター・ウォーズあれば、本望だったなとは思います。
We feel so fortunate to be working with these filmmakers.
Cool.
There are so many opportunities to reflect Japanese storytelling in a Star Wars universe.
Star Wars Visions is completely different than everything else in Star Wars storytelling. Audiences will fall in love with it.
Wow. Wow, so the first looks trailer for Star Wars Visions. And I guess to put it front and center, if you're one of those people that only likes the Star Wars original trilogy, you don't even like the special editions of those, you just want to watch the original cinematic release because you want everything to be the same as it was when you were 7 years old and you saw A New Hope in the cinema, and you even hate hearing me call it A New Hope because back then it was just called Star Wars. Let's face it, you're probably not going to like this because they've done a lot of very different things with Star Wars that have either landed or not over the years, and there's a lot of criticism for them taking Star Wars in too many different directions. Some people love that, some people not so much. This looks like the most different direction that they've ever taken Star Wars, which, wow. But what did you think of Star Wars Visions?
It looks really promising. It is very teasery, more about the concept rather than about what we can expect. But I feel like in some ways I'm surprised it is only happening now, because from the very beginning, Star Wars has been so heavily influenced, not just by Japanese media, but kind of by Japanese culture in so many elements, and from the storylines to the costumes, the sets, like so much of it is inspired by Japan that I feel like this just, it's a natural fit. And I think within that, there is so much scope to do pretty much anything in an anime style. You could go traditional, you could go more modern. Like there are so many genres of anime that you could tell Star Wars stories within and keep the style. Studio Ghibli as Star Wars story. I mean, I didn't see them listed, but some of the art styles we did see were along similar lines to the Studio Ghibli stories. So I think there's so much potential here.
Yeah, I guess my only word of caution when watching this is I'm a big fan of anime and a huge fan of Star Wars. I'm also a big fan of Marvel. However, there have been some Marvel anime crossover series that I just could not watch. They were just too peculiar. And I think it's taking characters that you love from the Marvel universe and representing them as a completely different culture in a completely different way with completely different speaking styles and mannerisms. It just left me completely cold. So I do hope that if they use any of the known characters from the Star Wars universe, they're going to treat them faithfully. So these stories are probably not going to be canon, but they're almost certainly going to be telling stories about new characters who we don't know. You're probably not going to be finding out what happened to Boba Fett after he fell in the Sarlacc pit, or things of that nature. What happened to Luke's hand after The Empire Strikes Back? However, I think if Star Wars has taught us anything recently, it's that it's a story that spans thousands of years, and there's plenty of room for original storytelling within those thousands of years. So I'm actually really, really fascinated to see what stories these different animation studios come up with. And to see Star Wars told through a different cultural lens, I think is actually really, really cool.
And I think one thing we have seen, I know the option to move a lot of the Star Wars stories that people loved into the Legends setting, which kind of walled them off. And I understand why that upset some people. I feel like in some ways that was necessary because the stories had got so complex and intertwining. It took a lot of options away from telling new stories. If you had to stick within that rigid framework. Whereas what it did do was kind of create not a blank canvas by any means, but a lot more scope to tell similar stories with the same characters, but in new ways. And they're still dipping back into the Legends. They aren't completely untouchable. They're still pulling those stories out and making them canon. And I could see the same happening with these. It gives them, if they're deciding they're not canon, it gives the storytellers some scope to tell some really interesting stories without having to get tangled up in kind of the enormous logbooks of continuity and back history that the Disney company keeps. So it gives them more freedom. And if they do hit upon a story that Disney likes, I could see that kind of being expanded into its own thing. So while I do understand the frustrations that people have, I do feel that it was necessary, and it has given us the ability to see new things from Star Wars in a way that we couldn't have done if they'd made a different decision.
Yeah, that's true. And I was one of those people that was pissed off when the House of Mouse bought Star Wars and just decided that stories that I loved were no longer relevant and no longer part of the Star Wars continuity anymore, and just decided to take characters that I loved in other stories and just recreate them in a new way. However, I've got to say, I loved the original Timothy Zahn Thrawn trilogy. I also love the recreation of Thrawn, which doesn't follow the same storyline, slightly nuanced, different character, but I'm actually kind of enjoying seeing those characters that I loved recreated in a new way. I guess sometimes it's not about the old-timers like me, it's about the new people who are starting to explore this new Star Wars universe and finding things that they love in it. So the more stories that we can get in there, the better. So there you go, friends. I think we are universally excited by the promise that this first look at Star Wars Visions gives us. I'm really intrigued to see more because it comes out in September, so we must be getting a full trailer soon.
Would you say it gives you a new hope?
Terrible. Well, no, I would not say that. I would say that you are the Phantom Menace in all of this. Well, there you go, friends. We are excited, and I guess we'll have to wait until we see more, and we may have to wait a little while. But you won't have to wait very long until you see us again. You know why? Because we do this?
Tons.
A long time ago. In a galaxy far, far away. And we do this every day, so we will see you tomorrow, friends, on the next Dork Trailer Ambush.
Peace out, Padawans.
Bye!
Shut up and sit down.